So now that we've talked about all of the strategies to create a price premium from in terms of either raising prices by offering a better product in some way, or by reducing costs, by implementing some kind of innovative cost cutting strategy, or by increasing capital efficiency, maybe by finding some way to scale your business that might not otherwise have been apparent. We want to spend a little more time talking about sustainability, because of course this is the sort of second pillar. We can try to charge a price premium, we can try to follow one of these strategies, but if this strategy isn't sustainable over a long period of time, it's not going to result in an increase in value, right? Remember, all of this is based on the key value driver formula. And so increasing return should increase or ROIC, increasing the return on invested capital, should increase value of the value of the firm. But if that return is just a momentary change, it's just a momentary blip, it's not sustainable, then we're not going to see a long-term increase in value. And that's not what we're after as the managers or the advisors for the firm. So there's a couple of things that are going to keep these strategies or are going to distinguish the strategies that are sustainable from the ones that aren't very sustainable. And I've listed the three big cases here. And the first one is the length of the product life cycle. And this one is a sort of a key factor in most of the price premium strategies. The longer that the product life cycle is, the more sustainable any of those strategies is going to be. So if you have a unique product and that product is then good for a long time, then it's going to be a very successful price premium strategy. It's got a lot of sustainability. But if it's something that's just like a fad and it blows out, so again, I'm probably dating myself, but like the Beanie Baby fad, unique product, everybody loved it, but it was only popular for about 5 years and then it blew away. So not very sustainable. There were a lot of copycats, but they weren't able to charge as much as Beanie Babies, but that they went away. Or like, for instance, the guy that invented the pet rock back in the 60s made like $1 million selling rocks with googly eyes on them. How easy is that to copy? I mean, what's the life cycle on pet rocks? Pretty much nil, and extremely easy. And so the product life cycle there is extremely limited. When we talk about products with a really long life cycle, a lot of times the ones that come to mind are these major consumer goods, like Cheerios, right? Or Coca-Cola, both of which have been around 50, 60, 70 years. They have a strong brand, they have a strong following. They haven't changed their formulas. Like they make new, different kinds of Cheerios, but they still sell the original. Just like they make new, different kinds of Coca-Cola, but they still sell the original, except for that new Coke thing back in the early 90s, but that was a disaster. And so the life cycle of those products is decades, if not closing in on a century for Coca-Cola. So there's a long period of sustainable price premium there. And it's due to brand, and it's due to innovative and a unique product, and it's due to all sorts of things. I mean, it's a sort of a combination of lots of the strategies that we talked about. So the longer that you can get your product life cycle to continue, the longer that you're able to sell the same thing, and that people don't get tired of buying your product, the more sustainable your price premium and your value creation is going to be. And you can contrast this with other things. For instance, how often have you replaced your phone in the last 10 years, right? New phones are coming out every 1, maybe 2 years. New computers, new gaming systems, new cars, new everything. I mean, most people aren't driving their car from 40 years ago. So the length of lots of product life cycle is relatively short, which means any price premium strategy, any return strategy that you undertake to create a price premium there is not going to be very sustainable. Okay? Now, ease of imitation. This is really the thing that eats away at most of the strategies that we've talked about. The easier any of these strategies are to imitate, so if someone can imitate your product, your unique product, if they can imitate your quality, if they can try to imitate your brand strategy, if they can imitate your innovative business method, if they can imitate your customer lock-in, whatever that might be, right? If you find a way to make an inordinate amount of money, somebody is going to try to copy you. And the easier it is for them to copy you, the less opportunity you have to earn a high return and create additional value. So again, ease of imitation is usually what's destroying this kind of additional return. All right, so lots of these strategies can be imitated, and the question is, can we come up with a strategy, or can we engage in some kind of business maneuvering that allows us to increase our return and doesn't allow our competitors to copy us very easily, right? So there's some examples of both sides. So I'll give you a little bit of flavor here. One of the most interesting and recent ones is the rise of those self-service check-in kiosks at airline counters. They were a huge innovation. They were originally American Airlines. They were big cost savings because people could just check in there. So they were having to pay less and less desk agents because people were doing the majority of the work on their own now. You put your card in, you grab your ticket, you tag your own bag. All they need is just one agent there to collect your bag, and you're done. Right? So it's huge cost saving. And you would think that that would generate a higher return for them. The problem being, of course, that as soon as the other airlines saw that, they put their own kiosks out there. They copied them exactly. There was a benefit to consumers because it did bring costs down, but it didn't generate a higher return for the companies. Right? And you can see imitation happening right now, big way. If you think about Netflix, really innovative product, totally disrupted the marketplace. Killed the old dinosaur of a Blockbuster, and providing a service that consumers really love. They generate really high returns. Netflix is one of the most valuable companies in the world, and they're doing great. But of course, what's happening? Everyone sees that there's this high return to be had, and everyone jumps in to imitate. And now, how many streaming services are there? You couldn't even name them all, right? Every single cable company has one. Every media company has their own. They all expect us to pay $15 a month for them. And then you got dumb stuff like Disney. Not only do you have to be a member of Disney, but if you want to watch the new Mulan, you got to pay an extra $30 just to see the movie, right? Which is just downright silly. So ease of imitation. Now, the imitation of all these companies has not necessarily, that's not true. It has eaten away at the returns that Netflix was earning. But Netflix is still managing to be a product leader there. They're still innovating. They're still putting out new shows and stuff like that. So they're fighting back, but they're certainly not earning the high returns of the past. And then you can think about stuff that isn't as easy to imitate. For instance, Amazon Prime, right? This is a huge boon to Amazon. There are 150 million Prime members in the US that sign up for 2-day shipping. All their shipping is paid for. You don't have to pay any additional shipping when you buy Prime products on Amazon. It brought in tons of new customers. They had student deals for a long time. It's relatively inexpensive at $120 a year, and it encourages you, because you already spent the $120 a year, to shop at Amazon more, right? So we talked about why that was a price premium strategy and a good return strategy, and this is one that's hard to imitate. In fact, more or less, we haven't seen an imitation, except for just recently, Walmart announced that they were going to start something called Walmart Plus, where they were going to try and match Amazon Prime with their shipping for a yearly fee, right? So it would take a company of the size of Walmart, one of the biggest in the world, to even attempt to compete with that kind of return strategy. And if it's effective, then it may hurt a little bit of Amazon's high returns and drag their values down a little bit. Okay. Now, then the last thing that we want to talk about with sustainability is something called the potential for product renewal. And essentially what that means is we can mimic the length of a product life cycle if we can use our strategy over and over again by introducing new products and banking on our old strategy to be continuous, right? So I said that phones aren't a good example of a product with a long life cycle, but they have a mimic of a long life cycle if we think about them in terms of product renewal. So the iPhone, just as the family of all the different iPhones, that's a product that's lasted almost 20 years. Even though each individual iPhone, I think we're on like number 12 now, right? Each individual iPhone only lasts about a year or two. So Apple is continually releasing these new iPhones, and they are continually earning high return on them because they are still releasing products with good quality and they're still relying on their brand. So they are extending these price strategies into new products, and they're doing it very successfully. And so this happens a lot in a lot of the tech spaces. We're on like PlayStation 5 now, Xbox 5 now, they started switching the names, but we're on like the 5th iteration of the Xbox. Computers, you name it, any of these electronic gizmos. By the time you go a couple of years, they've released a new product, and what they're trying to bank on is that they can continue to earn high returns on these products by continuing their price premium strategies just by renewing the product. Right now, that's not always completely successful. It does leave a lot of room for imitation. Now there's plenty of phones that are competing with the iPhones, and they're certainly not earning as high returns as they were when they first came out. So it does open you up for some competition. There are some unique ways to try to trade on brand and trade on quality and things like that. And that's why you see things like, and maybe you haven't, but that's why you see things like in Miami, Ferrari has an apartment complex, and it's owned by Ferrari. It was built by Ferrari. It's branded Ferrari. It has like all the furniture and stuff has the same leather as the leather that's in Ferraris, like in the seats of Ferrari. The central thing that the whole condominium tower is built around is this car elevator. And you to get to your floor, you drive your car in the elevator, and it raises you up to the 20th floor, and then you pull it out into your like parking space in your room in your apartment. So they're trading on their brand completely. I mean, like Ferrari has no business being in the apartment complex business, but people have such a strong association and such a strong love for that brand that they're trading on that as a way to move into a new sort of product space. And hopefully to be able to still charge a price premium based on that brand, even though it doesn't have anything to do with their normal product line.